All right, I feel like we could just take everybody else's slides and slap my logo on them, and we would all be, you would say the same thing. But let me give you a little bit about NCDOT. We are, is anybody in here from Texas? Okay, I can claim to have the largest system in the room. We have 79,000 miles. Texas has a little bit more than that. They have a little over 80. But we are the second largest system in the nation. We do have a pretty good number of unpaved roads still on our system. You can see 18,000 structures, and we have some pretty long bridges on the coast, so we are 91 million square feet of bridge deck. How our organization is laid out, we are divided into 14 we call highway divisions. Most of you call regions or districts. These divisions manage and maintain the roadways. They have roughly 600 employees per division. They do everything from construction and planning and programming to the actual maintenance of the roadways and the operations of just the facilities, rest areas, traffic signals, all those sorts of things. These guys are the ones that are responsible for actually doing the work, but we also have a central organization that helps with that. We have reorganized our asset management division a couple of times here recently. When Lacey left, there was this big sucking noise out of North Carolina. And we really missed him, but he was our director of asset management. We had a director of asset management and a director of field operations. And when Lacey left, they combined those two groups together and retitled that whole group asset management. But asset management really is managed in our organization in the State Road Management Unit, which is my group, pavement management, structure management, fleet and materials management. And then the three groups at the bottom, M&T, construction, and roadside, were our original field operations groups, but they're more focused on the construction side of the house and building the projects, and the rest of us are more focused on the maintenance of those. Our functions as asset management units are to assist our chief engineer's office in the statewide programs, and then to provide technical, we're the subject matter experts for the divisions. So to help them carry out their program. I titled my presentation A Journey. I've got to give a longer version of this presentation in Austin, Texas next week. And you didn't get the benefit of that, but down there I'm doing it based on the Chevy Chase movie Vacation and the road trip example. So, but I'll give you the really short version without the Chevy Chase movie clips. So we set our destination back in 1998. Steve Varnado has now left, but at the time we had Steve Varnado, we had Lacey, and we had all these people who really had this vision for where we needed to be with asset management. So they were in positions where they could plot our course, and the course that they saw was unconstrained funding, where we didn't have all these fences around the different pots of money. Credibility with our legislature and with our own leadership. We're like every other organization. All those people change every 4 years. And so we wanted to have credibility with those groups. We wanted to shift from this reactive maintenance to more of a proactive approach. And we wanted to be performance driven and measure the condition. And we really didn't have a way to do that. And we wanted meaningful annual maintenance plans, not just let's pull out the one from last year and change the numbers a little bit just to make sure it looks like it's a new one. And we wanted level of service. We wanted to be able to tell the legislature, we need this amount of money to get this level of service. And if you give us anything less than that, this is what we're going to have. So that's what we wanted. And where we were when we started that process was the old mainframe legacy-based systems. We were tracking a bunch of things on spreadsheets. We really had no accountability and no real monitoring for these things. We had not a lot of real planning in the maintenance side of the house, and we really did not have a good idea of the condition of the highway system. So our journey began in 1998, and we started with a general statute that was implemented. We had legislation that said we had to report to the General Assembly on a regular basis about the condition of the system, but they never really had any real parameters in that. And this piece of legislation was the first time they had real parameters in what we reported. And they said we needed to report the annual maintenance cost, or the annual cost of routine maintenance, the annual cost of resurfacing, and the annual cost of backlog, what we didn't get done. So that was the first thing that we had to do. To do that, this was June of 2008, and the first time we had to report out was in December. So we have no performance measures. We have no idea what we're doing. We have no idea of our condition. We did what every good highway department does. We plagiarized. We stole Washington, WashDOT's stuff. We stole their stuff and worked from there. And our program looked at the time a lot like Washington's. In the intervening years, we have implemented our maintenance management system, our pavement management system, and our bridge management system. And because they are all implemented, I can name the name of the vendor. Angela, it's Agile Assets. They have all three of those modules for us. We had, our legislature gave us the opportunity to implement 2 pilot performance-based maintenance contracts. Our brethren to the north, Virginia, had been doing that for a while, and so they felt like North Carolina needed to have the opportunity to do that as well. We took that as a challenge to try to do this proactively and measure we knew we needed to measure the contractor's performance, but we also needed to measure our own performance. So we sort of married the two together and worked with the performance measures for the contractor and our performance measures to try to get them as close as we could to the same. There are some differences, but we really wanted to measure our people and the contractor very similarly. We had a transformation. How many organizations have reorganized recently? We had a transformation plan come in and really reorganize the department a lot. Set us up, at the time we did not realize, but it set us up for really being a model to some other state agencies. We don't like change. We were kicking and screaming the whole way, but it turned out to be a good thing, as those things usually are. In 2008, we had a new governor come in who brought in a government-wide accountability process. So us having just done transformation gave us the opportunity to be the shining star for the others. That also brought in a whole new accountability process with that, and I will hit the high spots on the accountability process. We start in the top left-hand corner with our mission, vision, and goals, and our goals are safer, last longer, great place to work, works well, mobility. There's a mobility goal in there. So we all got those goals, and we all got indoctrinated to the goals. And then we moved to a work plan. This is an old slide, so that's a 5-year work plan. It has since moved to a 10-year work plan. Then we have department accountability. We have units, our business units accountability plans. And we have the piece of the employee accountability in there as well. And then we report all of that back, and it's all one big circle. Talking about department accountability, we have executive level performance measures. You can't read that slide. We'll talk about them in a little more detail, but that's the 5 goals that we have: safer, reliable, lasts longer, works well, and great place to work. Each have performance measures. The last longer goal, these are if you zoom into that chart, these are the 5 things that we do, or 6 things, 5 things that we do measure for last longer. And it's percent of the interstate in good condition, percent of the primaries in good condition, percent of secondaries in good condition. Our system is so large is because we have the county road system. And then percent of bridges in good condition, and then we do a weighted average across all of that for infrastructure health. So those are the goals that we all have to have, or the targets, and then the targets are in there too. We report on these things quarterly back to executive management. Each business unit, each of those divisions, and even each of those asset management groups, we have to report out on those things. So we have to develop our own business unit work plans and how we're going to meet those things. So for instance, in the last longer area, the divisions have to measure not the output or the outcomes, but the outputs. How many shoulders did I work on? How many lane miles of ditches? How many of these pieces did I do? That's the measurement. And how many do I plan to do, and then how many did I actually get done? And they have to report that out every quarter, like I said. Getting down to the individuals, we have revised our employee appraisal systems. We went to a more objective approach, and this is where it's gotten really tricky for us, is the difference in where is the level that the leading and lagging indicators. division engineers and up, we expect them to have a crash rate of this to that. But if you try to move that measure all the way down to the frontline supervisor, he really doesn't care about the crash rate. He's more interested in how many potholes he gets patched and how many of the pieces he gets done. So they get kind of tricky, and we've gone up and down with where that level of leading and lagging and those measures need to go. But for instance, in the black, the old version, things like identify and implement strategies and develop and ensuring project delivery and all of those great buzzwords. And we could play the bingo game with this. To the new our PDAs, that 65 to 80% of their bridges are in good condition. Never mind all of that other language, but these are the specific things that you're going to do. It's been a great shift for the divisions. This has been hard to do this, and there's a lot of pushback. 2009 was the first year we did this, and we have revised these repeatedly every year since then to try to get these things a little more fine-tuned, and people have pushed hard. They don't want, of course, we have no funding tied to these performance appraisals, but they sure still don't want a bad grade. So we have struggled with that.
What does PDA stand for?
Performance Dashboard Appraisal. We've struggled with how to name this thing. Our old system was Performance Management System, and nobody liked having PMS. So we had to struggle with the PDA and what to name that. And there have been all sorts of acronyms. How we report out externally. And Angela showed you dashboards. Just like everybody else is doing, we have these external facing dashboards. In our case, every tab matches up with one of those performance or the goals. Each of the 5 goals, these are the 5 things that we do measure for each goal. So for instance, for the safety goal, we measure fatalities. The one that's highlighted here is for the infrastructure goal, or the last longer goal. The measurement is infrastructure health, and my group calculates all of that. The graph in the back is just the statewide approach, but then you can click down to individual counties and see how your particular county is doing. This is an external facing dashboard, so the public can see this one. The public and the legislature can see it. They have really appreciated this, and that's gotten really good press for having these public facing dashboards and trying to be more transparent with where we stand. We do have a few internal facing dashboards that only we can see. This is one for the safety goal. If I am a division engineer in Division 5, I can see how my counties stack up. So for instance, that's Wake County, that's the capital county, so the counties around it. If I'm that division engineer, I can see how my counties stack up in this safer goal and the fatality rates. So I may want to approach some of my more northern counties that are in yellow and ask them, what's going on? What can we do to improve that? Something like the tracker report, but we don't have this meeting that really pulls it all together. And if I'm in those northern border counties against Virginia, I might want to ask the question, what's going on? Why is this fatality rate up a little bit? Another one, again, we're trying to tie these PDAs into it and employee performance. So we track things like how much of this work did you get done. This is one of the reports that we pull out of, we actually take it out of MMS and put it into SAP and Business Warehouse and all of those things. But they give us a goal of how much they want to do in a year, and then each quarter it's reported out on this dashboard. Again, employees have been skeptical about how all of this works. They think you're going to try to get them with this, and we are a hurricane-prone state. So our eastern counties want to say, but what about? What about? We had Hurricane Irene last summer. We didn't meet our measure for numbers of lateral ditches. Are you going to hold us accountable for that? Does that mean we're going to reflect negatively on us? No, it's just we've got to get these folks over this hump. But they have been skeptical about how all of this works. Along the way, we've had lots of technological advances. We started that condition assessment report with, you've heard, we do 23,000 samples. We gave every reporting team a copy paper box full of paper forms that had the location that they were to go to in a description in the top of the form, and we gave them a roll of maps and said, go forth and prosper and have fun, but be sure you're done by September 1st. So we've gone from that sort of process where they did it on paper and then came back to the office and data entered to a process where now we use tablet PCs. We made it all electronic so they can do it on the tablet PC and they can come and download it at the end of the day. Last year we added this arc mapping piece to it. We don't exactly have the navigation system worked out where she tells you to turn left and turn right, but we got rid of the paper maps and we were able to get them to just be able to look at it on the screen. We have found that the older employees need to be paired with a younger employee, somebody that can use this gizmo. So typically with our teams, the older employee is the driver and the younger employee is looking at the map and telling them where to go and where to turn. And you get up on one of these red samples and they scream, stop! And they'll slam on brakes and pull over. So we haven't had any accidents yet, but we're waiting for that to happen. And this year we have moved into the pavement distress automated models. We were doing 80,000 miles of system by windshield survey. We went and spent a little time with VDOT and saw how they were doing their automated system, so we implemented something like that. So this year we are doing our primaries and our interstates with the automated system. That is about 20,000 miles of that system. So that's where we are moving to. And lastly, where are we headed? What are our next steps? We are at the verge of trade-off analysis. We have all the pieces there. We're getting ready to do that. We are looking at how we can move our funding around. We still have those fences around the pots of money, but we're starting to try to use the system to help us move what money we can and to make the case at the legislature that you need to take the strings off. We've got the tools to be able to do this. For instance, last year in the legislature, we had a pot of money that was what was titled system preservation. That really didn't have a lot of fences around it. We were able to put that on pavements, on bridges, just as long as we did certain functions with it, we could use it. But last year, the legislature heard the message that we weren't, that we had bridges in poor condition, but they didn't trust us enough to use the money wisely. So they made the big fence around it and said, you will spend $200 million on bridges in the next year, and hurry up. Are you done yet? So we're hoping to be able to pull some of those strings off of things. And working toward optimal sets of projects, needs-based analysis. Those are the things that we are headed to so that we can have better managed assets globally in North Carolina and more efficiently. So with that.
All right, thank you.